Carolyn, okay.
Diolch. I would like to start this debate by thanking Dr. Linda Joyce-Jones, who continues to work tirelessly to raise this issue of the corporate takeover of veterinary practices here in the Senedd through her petition and across the UK. Linda is in the gallery today to watch this short debate. Since 1999, non-veterinary ownership of veterinary practices has been permitted. This has led to a feeding frenzy of over 1,000 corporate acquisitions of UK practices by six large companies, just six large companies, which now own 60% of the veterinary sector. A decade ago, that figure stood at just 10%. Some of these are themselves owned by private equity, which seeks to buy companies, drive down costs, including wages, drive up fees and leverage debt to expand through acquisitions before selling on the companies for massive profits. These companies are monopolising the industry to the detriment of pets and their owners. The Competition and Markets Authority has been looking into the veterinary services market since 2023. An interim report was published in October, identifying key issues in the industry which undermine owner choice and put animals at risk. These include the fact prices are rarely publicised and estimates not given before a course of treatment begins. They're often overcharged, well above the market rate for prescribed medicines, and have no effective means of complaining when things go wrong. One of the companies being looked into is IVC Evidensia, the largest provider of vet services in the UK, owning over 1,000 practices. It is owned in part by Nestlé, who also manufacture pet food. How can owners be confident of the quality of the food or the nutrition advice from their vet when the two have such a conflict of interest? At the same time, bills for pet owners have increased by more than 60%, double the rate of inflation and increase in vet salaries. This shift has gone hand in hand with the prioritisation of profit before the welfare of pets, their owners and veterinary staff. Private equity shareholder companies are required by law to make a profit for their investors, in stark contrast to independent veterinary practices. The cost of living crisis has put significant financial burden on pet owners. Many have been priced out of pet insurance with premiums based on postcode. If an area has a large corporate presence, premiums are higher. But without insurance, sudden, huge vet bills can be impossible to pay. And in researching for this debate, I read about pet owners skipping meals to cover costs, having to hand over their pets to rescue, or in some cases, very sadly, forced to euthanise their pet. We know this has led to increasing pressure on rescue centres, with the RSPCA reporting a 25% increase in the number of pet abandonments in England and Wales this year, with 7 in 10 pet owners worried about the cost of caring for their animals. But pets are a much-loved part of the family, and it can be incredibly worrying for owners and have a significant mental health impact when their animal becomes unwell. It's even more stressful and expensive when this happens outside of normal practice hours. And many of the large companies taking over local practices do not cover out-of-hours emergency care. This has led to the dire situation where in Ynys there are now no out-of-hours vet services on the island, and it's a constant source of concern for local pet owners. The corporate takeover is having a severe negative impact on those working in the sector as well, and is plagued by support staff experiencing poverty pay, falling real terms pay for clinical staff, poor sick and maternity pay, and large gender pay gaps. These were the issues at the centre of the Valley Vets and the British Veterinary Union in Unite trade dispute. Staff went on strike when the vet partners did not engage in good faith, and during a sham bargaining performance presented the union with a final offer. This offer represented no improvement in conditions, ongoing poverty pay for support staff, and yet another year of a real-term wage cut for vets and nurses. Vet partners argued that downward transaction trends and market uncertainty meant that they could not move beyond this offer. However, Unite Forensic Accounting reveals vet partners' turnover has been increasing year on year, resulting in a 176% increase in the 5-year period since 2019. And in 2019, group turnover was £261 million and had risen to over £723 million. A resolution was never found, with the corporate giant choosing to close practices and make staff redundant or laid off, rather than stepping up to provide fair wages and decent working conditions. As the Big Six endlessly pursue profit, staff face strict deadlines and targets. A survey of 275 veterinary staff carried out by the British Veterinary Union for the CMA last year indicated that monitoring and targets had an impact on the decisions of almost 40% of nurses and just over 17% of vets. One vet explained he felt pressured to upsell to pet owners, with the company demanding to know why he hadn't carried out enough sales of the most expensive procedures. He said he felt your worth is only how much income you bring in. Another vet working for the out-of-hours service told the BBC its call centre regularly booked emergency appointments with her for animals with non-urgent symptoms, costing pet owners more than £300. I'd say 30% to 50% of cases could wait to be seen in the morning, she said. At the same time, non-compete clauses are being used to stop vets from leaving a practice that has been taken over by a large corporation, banning them from working for another practice for a year after leaving. The situation is clearly unsustainable. It's costing the lives of pets, traumatising and unaffordable for pet owners, and created an unacceptable work environment for vets and support staff. France has taken legal steps against corporate ownership of clinics, and Ireland is considering the same. I believe the UK needs to take action now, before it's too late.